Welcome to Open BXRx on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, inviting you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Much of Honduras and Central America has been completely devastated by Hurricane Eta, a Category 4 hurricane that recently hit the country. The Bronx is home to thousands of Central American immigrants and Seis Vecinos, a Central American restaurant here in our borough. They have stepped up to send immediate aid and relief directly to those in need, all the way from the Bronx to Honduras. And here to tell us more is Omar Canales of Seis Vecinos. Omar, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Sanji, and thanks to the BronxNet team as well.
Absolutely. It's always great having you here on the show and, on BronxNet. You're no stranger to the BronxNet team. So first, Omar, for those who may not be familiar, can you give us a little background about Seis Vecinos, the restaurant here in the Bronx on Prospect Avenue?
Yeah, so I remember the last time we were ever in the BronxNet studios was to talk about, my favorite subject, which is food. And, I remember we were featured on Foodie Down Bronx a year ago before the pandemic, and we were sharing that day about our little restaurant that we have over on Prospect Avenue, 640 Prospect Avenue to be exact. So it's a family-style restaurant, family-owned, family-run. We serve Central American cuisine. We emphasize on Honduran cuisine, as it is, pertaining to our heritage and roots as to where my family comes from. And we just serve a lot of a lot of comfort food, familiar comfort food that most people can relate to, and drinks as well. And we just try to keep a very, comforting, area to provide there in our corner.
And I think you guys do an incredible job at providing that comfort food, delicious comfort food, might I add. But Omar, to switch a little bit of gears here, as some of us may know who are tuning in, Hurricane Eta was a Category 4 hurricane that killed at least 178 people and left about 115 missing, primarily in Central America. Can you share how Seis Vecinos took this devastating news as a Central American restaurant serving the community of the Bronx, and how the impact and, just about the impact of the hurricane in the country?
Yeah, so the very interesting and also humbling thing was to actually have my cousin, she's the actual owner of the restaurant and who I work with closely on a daily basis. She was the one who reached out to me, telling me about how we could donate. I have this opportunity with her brother, also my cousin, out in Honduras, who is willing to provide outreach and provide the actual labor of distribution. So we were very fortunate enough to already have that access of distribution directly to the people out in Honduras who were affected, the actual victims. So we decided to move forward. She provided the funds, which comes obviously directly from the business itself, to say, hey, we're definitely suffering here in New York, but we're able to provide a little something which goes a much longer way down in Central America, to essentially help our brothers and sisters out over there. So funds were put together, connections were put together very quickly, which once again humbled me and continues to humble me because, over here in New York, yeah, we have a lot of hunger, but compared to Latin America as in general, it does not compare. So we were able to put that logistics and a lot of even food that went from here, from other food distribution companies that are connected to the restaurant as well. And we were able to put that funding directly ourselves, the Seis Vecinos family itself, which is why if you notice how we talk about in our social media in a humbling way, that we were able to provide this, funding, food and essentials and awareness directly from us, and therefore trying to promote others to do the same and connecting us as a whole. And so, we still continue to learn about the devastation and how it'll echo for time to come. I also learned not just, my cousins directly, because I have a lot of cousins, how Latin American families are. We have cousins all over.
Yeah.
Um, I learned about even other cousins of mine in other professions in Honduras as well, who are also banding together and trying to help those who are less fortunate, losing their homes, losing family members, you know, down to losing their pets and, you know, hopes and dreams. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the same way we all came from somewhere, you know, the whole idea is to help those, because you never know how things go around.
And as you said, Omar, the community was already ravaged by COVID-19, the pandemic that we are in now. So imagine now being ravaged by a hurricane is, devastating. And thank you to Seis Vecinos for taking, the initiative and helping the community despite how far we are, all the way from the Bronx. And we saw the post on social media. I think it's amazing and incredible the work that you guys did. And you're so humble about it. I know that I invited you to interview today, but it's more to raise awareness about what's going on. As we know, Seis Vecinos donated 70,000 pounds of food directly to those affected by Hurricane Eta in Honduras. Omar, can we just talk about the importance of mutual aid and helping each other, especially during these tough times and during this pandemic?
So I love staying in touch with our other neighboring restaurants here in the Bronx who provide mutual aid. And those you will easily find humbly representing themselves also on social media as well. They're an inspiration for us. I love to share that type of, vibe with my family, who also helps run the restaurant. And what's also very interesting in how the world just does its rotation is how it took a pandemic to teach us all about mutual aid.
Yeah.
I feel, and how to do it in a modern age, full of social media. So what's interesting is at the beginning of March earlier this year, I was very fortunate enough through the neighboring partners of other restaurants here in the Bronx to get in touch with an organization run by Chef Jose Andres, who also does a lot of mutual aid himself as a very fortunate man and giving man himself through his organization by the name of World Central Kitchen. They were able to, through us, provide a lot of aid where we were able to provide meals directly to those in need here in the Bronx, to other nonprofits here in the Bronx, serving our undeserved community. And so when we needed it most, they were also there to help us. So we've also kept in touch with other organizations through that aid as well, passing along that kind of, help and vibe. We ended up also giving meals to those that came to us, especially in the beginning of March, April, and May, when everyone was the most tense during the pandemic. And we provided meals directly from us to other organizations that were providing masks to children, for example, and other organizations that end up asking us, directly. So it's taught us the importance of it. It's also taught us, I think, most importantly, that if, and I hope it also teaches local politicians that, there's a way to do it together. The same way, as I mentioned, World Central Kitchen, is able to provide us an example, ultimately, of if the funds are allocated directly to help not only small business, we're able to feed our own community right in our backyard. So if those connections are made correctly and are supervised correctly, we can ultimately build a self-sustaining system in the long run. And it's unfortunate that it took a pandemic to expose a lot of that, ultimately.
That is absolutely true. We are in the Bronx where a lot of people face food insecurity at high rates here. And the pandemic has definitely amplified the issue that already existed in our borough. So mutual aid, it's not new in America, right? But it has been more prevalent throughout the pandemic. So it's inspiring to see how much the community has banded together in a small scale to help each other. And it's definitely true what you say, Omar, about just the community, learning through the pandemic that this is the most important time for all of us to just learn about how to help and care for each other as well. And food, at the end of the day, is what you provide as Seis Vecinos. Food is so important, and sustainability through that food, you know. So I also wanted to share that, you know, Seis Vecinos is also a local small business in the Bronx. And as you said in the beginning, has been struggling throughout the pandemic, but you guys have put people in the forefront. How are you balancing also, you know, running a business and helping others who need your help at this time?
Yeah, so that's an everyday more like juggle and a struggle at the same time. But just keeping in touch, you know, with other small businesses and other merchants and other small business owners is always a plus, because we're also just able to kind of share that same stress. Um, and you know, it's basically involving us having to do our homework, keeping up with the city every single day, as we're all watching, you know, Cuomo and de Blasio on TV. Us in the hospitality restaurant business, we're constantly thrown new rules and regulations every single day. You know, because nobody wants fines. Fortunately, you know, we've only been warned. But it's an everyday struggle of just trying to make sure that not just our customers are safe, but our staff is safe. You know, because at the end of the day, it all has to make sense and remain sustainable in the long run, because nobody wants to shut down amidst, you know, the everyday anxiety of, you know, the infection rates that we're facing right now. So it's us just being glued to our social media, the news, making sure that we're doing the right thing for everyone, having everyone, you know, understand in every language that they speak, you know, that this is a serious thing, and that we're all just trying to collect our pennies right now to make sure we have the right supplies and right rules and regulations in place. So
Thank you.
that's really what it takes.
Thank you for sharing, Omar. Before we go, can you just share any resources, links, locations, any social media pages for other Bronxites who would like to help provide relief to Central America at this time?
So I've tried my best in promoting directly to the Seis Vecinos Instagram page, especially. You can also see some of our stuff on Facebook as well. That I've also linked, for example, the Central American Collective. We've met before, even at the restaurants. Before the pandemic, they provide helpful resources. Another hot topic, which is very interesting and not just affecting Central America, but the world, is global climate justice, which is, you know, informing ourselves about what we can do as individuals so that the coming generations, and even our own generation that is already becoming affected, as we're able to see the effects of global warming. This is a new topic that you can see over on the Central American Collective Instagram page and their social media. You'll see that they've also linked the Honduran consulate, who has been very generous, who we've also donated to their causes even before the pandemic. And another one is called Beyond the Bubble Guide, also linked on our social media, who provide links directly to individual people who have put in their own like grassroots organizations to be able to give whatever resources they can give. Another highlight, probably one of the warmest ones and one of my highlights probably of this week, has been that the Port Morris Distillery reached out to me through the Seis Vecinos Instagram page, saying that they have a warehouse full of essentials and materials and clothing that they can potentially donate. So I was able to put them in touch with a couple of sisters who I've also linked their phone number through WhatsApp on our Instagram post. And they've gotten in touch with the Port Morris Distillery, so they were able to collect their materials and donate to the Central American region as well. So that's just, for me, like once again, another humbling like event to happen. And just, it reminds me, you know, that there's just so much work to be done, and there isn't enough that we can give, unfortunately, but that we try, you know, as much as we can. And, you know, that's why I stay in touch with, you know, Port Morris Distillery and other groups like that here in the Bronx. And, you know, it just makes me more proud to like be from here.
Absolutely. Gracias, Omar, for spending the time with us today and highlighting what's going on in Central America and all the work that's being done all the way from the Bronx. Be on behalf of Seis Vecinos and Port Morris Distillery. I'm so happy to hear that this networking is happening right here in our borough. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
Again, folks, Central America still needs plenty of help. And if you have the capacity to help, Seis Vecinos continues to use their platform to provide resources and information. You can follow them at Seis Vecinos on social media. And also, please stop by to support one of our favorite local Central American and Mexican businesses located on 640 Prospect Avenue. We'll be right back on Open BXRx.